Hi, welcome back.
Hey.
So today we're gonna do some Thanksgiving sides, the traditional sides, and we're making it ahead, so you can either throw them in the refrigerator or the freezer, and do it prior to Thanksgiving, so you're not staying in the kitchen the whole time of Thanksgiving and spending more time with your family or friends. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make gravy from scratch. It's super easy. So I got 2 turkey wings and a turkey thigh, turkey necks. I chopped up carrots, celery, and onion, and I roasted them in the oven for probably about 2.5 hours, about 350. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to throw it in a pot of boiling water, and this is what we're going to make our turkey broth with. We're going to put it for gravy, and we're going to put it in our stuffing.
Nice.
Or dressing, whichever you prefer to start.
Smells great. I'm already hungry.
Yeah, so we're going to make some gravy from scratch. We're going to do green bean casserole. We're going to do a dressing, a sausage dressing, super simple.
And taters?
And taters. Mashed taters.
Mashed taters.
Mashed taters. And this is where we're going to get started.
All right.
Okay, so this is we're gonna start our gravy. So we're gonna take all of these veggies that we roasted and the wings, turkey stuff, and we're gonna put them in a pot of water. So we're gonna throw all that stuff in there and just dump everything in the juice, everything. Super simple. And then we're gonna let this simmer. We're gonna do the rest of our sides and let this simmer for, you know, a good hour or so.
Splasharoonies.
Splash. And this is going to make your broth for your gravy and your stuffing. Alright, and so we'll just let that simmer while we get the rest of it done. Okay, so while our wings and veggies are getting boiled for our broth, we're going to get in a pan a couple tablespoons of butter, and we've got about cup and a half of diced carrots, celery, and an onion, a whole onion. And we're going to saute these up, and this is going to go into our dressing. So we just you can just dice them. We're going to soften them up, saute them in some butter. So just throw those in there all at once. So we got our broth stuff going, and now we're getting our stuff for our dressing, stuffing, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to let that saute and get all soft. And then we're going to put this all together.
Right on.
Okay, so these are our sauteed vegetables right now. We're going to add poultry seasoning, sage, salt, and pepper to this. And this is going to be going in to the stuffing. Season it. You can season it actually with whatever you like, but since traditionally this is what we use: sage, poultry seasoning, salt, and pepper. Okay, so now we're going to start our green bean casserole. Super simple. We've got our veggies sauteing on there for our stuffing or dressing. We got the turkey wings and thighs boiling, simmering for our broth. And so we're going to make green bean casserole. So a lot of people think this is too confusing. People overthink this too much. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've got French style green beans. Yes, French style green beans. And golden mushroom is like, I don't know, it makes it taste way better. Golden mushrooms. So for every 2 cans of green beans, you're going to want to put 1 can of golden mushroom or cream of mushroom, whatever you like. And I always add a cream of chicken. I think it just makes it taste better. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw these in a strainer real quick. You got a strainer over here?
I do. What do you want of it?
Just open the sink. So we'll let you dump all these in here. So we've got 6 cans of French style green beans. Don't have to be the expensive ones either.
Well, no. It's green beans are green beans.
Green beans are green beans, especially when they're all baked. So we're going to drain those off really good. You don't want them watery. So we'll drain those off. Okay, so while the green beans are draining, we're going to dump the golden mushroom in a bowl along with the cream of chicken soup.
And yes, it's orange.
It is, because it's golden mushroom.
It's golden.
People overthink their green bean casserole. It's really super simple. And this is all pre-making or make-ahead sides for Thanksgiving. So normally what you would do is add crispy onions to it.
Yes. Uh-oh. Oh, you got one cream of chicken?
Yeah, one cream of chicken.
Okay. Thought I opened the wrong one for a second there. Hello. Hello, that's a blooper.
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
Hello. Okay. So we're using 2 cans of golden mushrooms and 1 can of cream of mushrooms. So with this, normally you would add your crispy fried onions. But because we're making this ahead, we don't want to add this. They'll get soggy.
Right. You don't want them soggy.
So we're going to add this, and we're going to add our drained green beans to this.
Yeah. There we go. Put them right in there? Okay.
And we're going to stir that up.
You need a stir spoon.
Oh yeah, you need a stir spoon. Like that. Okay, so we're going to mix all of those together. Okay, so this is all mixed. And normally if you were going to bake this right away, what you would do is add your crispy fried onions in it, like a cup or 2. But we're not going to do that. Because we are going to take this along. This is not Thanksgiving Day.
Right.
So this is what we're going to do. Grab one of those bags. So what we're going to do, we're going out of town. So what the hell? I don't think this is. Okay, so we're going to put this in a 2-gallon freezer bag. And what you do on Thanksgiving Day is take it out of your freezer. Well, the day before, take it out of your freezer. Add the onions after it's thawed. Throw it in a baking dish. Bake it 350 for about, I'm going to guess, 30 minutes. And then you'll add your crispy fried onions over top of it again and bake it for another 10 minutes. Uncovered. And
All right. We're in the Ziploc part there.
get all the air out of it. Make it flat. Flat like that. Yeah, like flat. So we want this flat because when we put this in the freezer, we're going to put this in our cooler, frozen, and it's going to act like ice, along with our other dishes. And then you don't have to buy so much ice in your cooler. There you go. There is your green bean casserole.
Don't get crossing the border with this.
green bean casserole. So again, what you do, thaw it out on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Day, throw it in a baking dish. Throw some crispy fried onions in it. Mix it up. Bake it for about 30 minutes. Take it out. Put some crispy fried onions over top of it again. And It should look like that. No, I'm just kidding. Simple, without overthinking. So there's green bean casserole right there. Okay, so now on to mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes.
So we've already boiled our potatoes, let them cool, and now we're just going to use our tater ricer. Put one in there, two in there, whatever. Rice it up. And so these can either go in the refrigerator or in your freezer. And because we are toting this in a cooler, we are going to put it in the freezer. And on Wednesday, we're going to let them thaw out. We're going to put butter in here, but you don't want to add milk or anything until you actually make them for dinner, because otherwise they're going to get runny and soggy.
Right.
So that's why we're not going to add it when we freeze it or put it in the fridge. Because if anybody knows, when you put it in the fridge, like mashed potatoes that you've already done, or boxed mashed potatoes are easy for Thanksgiving potatoes. That's what I like doing. But then they get watery. So we're going to forgo any liquid, which I would add some milk to this. Warm them up. After they've thawed out, warm them up. Or they could actually stay in the refrigerator too. They're not going to be, you know, they can stay in the refrigerator a week or two because they're already cooked. There you go. And a potato ricer actually makes it so there's no lumps.
Right.
So we got grab that butter too.
Okay.
So we melted butter in the microwave, and we're just gonna mix that in here.
Got the spoon. Got the spoon.
Oh, we can do it with a knife, doesn't matter. Okay, so we just drizzle butter. And we cook these in salted water, so we don't need to add salt. Some people add sour cream, whatever. But now we're just doing traditional mashed potatoes with butter. Because I don't like all that fancy stuff, especially when you have gravy. Because I like the gravy. Alright, bag. And we're going to throw this in a bag and put it in the freezer. We are. You can put it in the fridge. You can put it in your baking dish and put it in the fridge.
Gosh. My God, Josh.
This was like a little less than 5 pounds of potato.
Yeah, that potato ricer works great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so we're going to get all the air out. Close up your bag.
Baby.
We're going to flatten it out so it can fit in your freezer perfectly. Along with your green beans.
The green beans.
So, green beans, potatoes done.
Boom. Bada bing.
On to the next Thanksgiving side, which will be our stuffing. Dressing, stuffing, whatever you want to call it. You can stop. Okay, so now we're going to start our dressing. Now, you can go and buy the packaged crouton thingies.
Yep.
Stuffing things. Not as good. And you can't control the salt or whatever's on there.
Right.
So you go to the store and you buy the whatever kind of bread you want. You can go French bread. Old bread. Back in the day, they used to use stale bread.
Yeah, the day old store or whatever. Everybody's
Stale
got one.
bread. They used to stale it out. But now my mom always, back in the day, because we don't do stale, toast your bread. Now, on the toast, before I toasted it, I put poultry seasoning and sage on it. You can put whatever seasoning you like in your dressing, stuffing, whatever. You can put garlic, salt, whatever. I didn't use any salt because when you add your broth, that's going to add salt.
Yes.
I add sausage to it. That's going to add a saltiness. So, we have our sauteed veggies, our sausage that we had already cooked. That's all going to go in.
And the sausage.
So, actually, you can dump that in there if you want.
All right.
Dump the veggies, the sausage. I add sausage. You can add diced green apples. I remember my mom did that way back when. If you like that little sweetness, but I like savory, not sweet. So anyways, I took and toasted a bag of bread with sage and poultry seasoning that I added on here. It wasn't quite a bag because somebody was using it in my house for toast in the morning.
Without the sage on it.
Just kidding.
Because that would be really funny to do that to somebody.
Yeah, so we're just gonna roughly cut these into cubes. So you don't want to. I don't want them really small because when you put all the liquid in there, it's gonna mush down, and you don't want mushy. You don't want a mushy dressing. So I just kind of slice them up and dice them up. So if you have hot dog buns, hamburger buns, whatever, you could toast them up, throw them in there. Just, you know, they used to use stale bread, so whatever you want to use is not going to be such a big deal.
Just not raisin bread.
Yeah. Well, they used to add raisins in stuffing, do you know that?
Oh, God, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I think when my grandma was alive, I think once in a while they would put, for some reason I want to say golden raisins. For some reason I'm thinking. But, you know, everybody has their own way, but this is simple.
Could you put jalapenos in this?
Well, if you like it.
Joking.
You could put anything. It's a stuffing. I'm just kind of making it like the...
No, this is great. This is perfect.
You know, like just like a basic traditional... Well, traditional doesn't have sausage in it, but so, like, if you had... what do you call it? French bread, yeah, you would just rip it apart into pieces, put it in there. Doesn't have to be fancy because it's all going to get mixed up.
Right.
So, there you go. And we just did off like kind of just a little bit more than, or less than a loaf of bread, and I put it back in here because I'm neat that way.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you could just rip them apart. You don't even have to cut them into cubes like the store-bought kind. This just makes it more...
You like to be hands-on, you know?
Yeah, personal. More personal.
As long as your hands are clean, I guess.
Yeah.
Did I clean mine? Yeah.
Do not cough in your hands. Don't cough in your hands. And yes, these are a little bit over toasted. But you know what? You're gonna put all that liquid broth in here, and it's gonna soak it up. So you don't want to use a soft bread. That's why they always used to use stale bread.
Right.
So, and this is the reason why I make these videos, so that my kids someday can look back at my videos and say, "Oh, that's how she made it." So one of the reasons why I like doing these videos is make an archive for my kids. So when they're older,
they can laugh at us?
They don't have to ask me. I could just say, go look at my YouTube channel. And there's how you make it.
All right.
All right, so we got that, and we got our broth probably almost done, and we're gonna start like dipping maybe just a few cups in here just to mix it up, and then we're gonna throw it in a bag and freeze it.
Right.
So we'll be back. Okay, instead of actually mixing it in this bowl, because we don't have a big enough bowl right now.
I do.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, we're going to start dumping it in our 2-gallon bag, and then we're going to add the broth in here and just kind of mix it. But we're not going to put all the broth in here because we're going to freeze this or put it in the fridge. And then the day that we want to use it, which is Thanksgiving, we're going to add more broth and then stick it in the oven. So I don't know why I didn't do this in the first place, but...
That's okay.
I wasn't thinking.
It's okay.
I wasn't thinking. So you could actually, right now, as of now, you could throw this in the fridge or freezer until Thanksgiving. I'm going to add just a teeny bit of the broth, maybe. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. So, actually, I just now decided. No, I'm not going to add any broth to this now. Because I don't want it to get it too mushy yet.
Too mushy, yeah.
So, that's the veggies and stuff. So, I'm going to throw this either in the fridge or the freezer. I'll probably have to put it in the freezer again. Because I'm going to put these in the cooler. And then, we'll take it out Wednesday. Thursday, Thanksgiving, put it in a baking dish. Stick some broth in it by the cup. Put a cup in, stir it up. Put a cup in, stir it up. When it's moist, not wet, throw it in the oven. And bake it, again, everything's at 350.
Yeah, yummy.
350, and don't cover it. I wouldn't put, because you want it to kind of get crispy on top. So don't cover it. Bake it for about 15 minutes. Stir it around. See if you need to add more broth. It's always kind of like whatever you like.
Yeah.
You might have to add another couple cups of your broth to it. And bake it for another probably 15 minutes till it's crispy on top. Because the sausage, all the veggies are cooked, and we're not stuffing a bird, we don't need to worry about anything not being done.
Correct.
The only thing you're worried about is everything getting warm and moist, not wet. So, there we go. Now we got our, what do you call this? Dressing. Dressing, or stuffing if you stick it in the bird.
Stuffing, yeah.
Okay, so that's that, and the only thing we have left to do is to make some gravy, which is super simple.
Yes. We'll be back.
Alright, so our veggies and our wings and thighs are done cooking in our broth. Actually, you can cook these all day if you wanted to.
Right.
But we're not. So we're just going to strain this out. We're going to put these back in our pan. We're going to get all these veggies and the meat out. Now, what you can do with this meat, so I took some and I'm cooling some off, because what you can do is you can take the meat off. I got a thigh and a neck, chop it up, and put it into your dressing. You can also put it into your gravy, but so we're just taking out all the veggies from the broth. We'll take out the big chunks and then we're going to put it through a strainer. We're going to strain this into a bowl because we just want the juice from the broth.
All right.
Okay, so we strained everything out of the broth. Strain it here. I set aside a couple pieces so that we're going to cut these up and throw them either in the stuffing or the gravy. But right now we're going to make gravy with our broth. Our homemade turkey broth. So that's what we're going to do right now. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of cups of the broth into our saucepan, and we're going to get this on a low boil. And this here we're making gravy. We're making gravy with the turkey stock. Keep going. Yeah, fill it up about halfway. And when we get this to a low boil, we're gonna. Okay, this is gravy without the extra fat of flour and butter. This is the easiest way to make gravy and the less stressful way to make gravy. So we're going to bring this to a boil here. And in the meantime, while that's boiling, we're going to make a slurry. Now we did this in another video using cornstarch. Okay? So we're going to put probably about 3 tablespoons of cornstarch into just a bowl with cold water. You can use, if your broth is cold, if your broth is cold, you can add broth to mix it in. Like three big scoops.
Oh.
Okay, so you can either add water, you can add chicken broth. If you have store-bought chicken broth, you can add that. You can add this. We're going to add a little bit at a time, though. Okay, so we're using the broth. So you're going to make a slurry again. Let's add a little bit at a time. And it's going to turn... If you've never used cornstarch before, it turns into kind of like gluey until it's completely mixed. Yeah, so, and then it will turn liquidy. And it'll turn very liquidy once it's, yeah, just keep.
Jeez. There we go.
This is an easy no-fail. You don't have to add extra fat from the butter. You don't have to add flour. And you don't get, it's kind of hard to get lumpy gravy when you do it this way. So he's got that slurry mix. It's completely liquid now. See, it turned into a liquid. And so we're just going to wait for the stuff in the pot to start to boil. And then we're going to add that. Slowly, actually. Okay, so we got a slow simmer here. And you take your little slurry mix and slowly pour it in and stir constantly. At the same time, you can use that spatula. In this way, see, you will never get lumps in your gravy. And it'll turn nice and thick. And sometimes you have to just kind of fill it out. And okay, so we're going to let it simmer a little bit. Kind of a low boil, I guess you'd say. Not simmer, but... And if you need to add some more slurry, you just mix cornstarch again. And I would use just a little bit of either cold water or chicken broth. So let me point out one thing. Okay, so we made this broth. If you can set that overnight and let the fat rise to the top, and you can pull that off, you could take a lot of the extra calories, fat, whatever, you know, away from your gravy, but that's not the way we're doing it today. We're doing it the way we always do it.
Right.
Because this is what you're going to do on Thanksgiving Day. If you was to make it the day of, you wouldn't have time to set it aside for a night to get rid of, you know, the top separation of grease there and fat, whatever. But once it cools, you can always do that too, because all that, once it cools, it's going to rise to the top anyways, and you can pull that off. But see how thick it is? And if you wanted to chop up some of the meat, the giblets, whatever, from your turkey that day, you can throw that in there. And when we made our broth, we already put the juice from when we roasted the veggies and the turkey parts. We threw all the juices in here. So the day of, when you make your turkey, and you want to reheat this, so we're gonna cool this off. And then the day of, you just throw it back in the pan, heat it up. You can add more of your turkey juices from your actual turkey. Throw it in there when you heat it up. If that makes sense.
It does to me.
It doesn't make sense. So how thick is it? Okay, turn up the heat a little bit more. No fail gravy. We might mix up just a little bit more cornstarch with some broth and add it in here just to thicken it up a little bit more. Turn this up and low. I don't know what I'm doing here. But this way, you will never get lumps this way. And when you use butter and flour, it turns lumpy. Who cares? I don't care. Plus, you're adding all that extra to it. And all this is all the goodness from your veggies and your meat. Alright, so. Yeah, so we're just going to add a little bit more just to thicken it up. You want to constantly keep stirring. Constantly stir it. Now if you want to add more salt, you can add salt, sage, whatever. Okay, so it's low simmering, and he's constantly keeping it stirred. And the more it simmers, the thicker it's going to get. Now, if you kind of look, if you want to pull up that and see how much thicker it is now. And we put a lot of broth in here, so we may have to. We're going to let it cook just a little bit more. We might have to add a little bit more slurry, or cornstarch, why it keeps calling it slurry. So you kind of have to kind of watch and see how thick you like it. Some people like more liquidy gravy. Some people like it thicker. So you just kind of watch. And we might just add a little bit more because once it cools down too, it's gonna thicken. All right. So we started out with 3, 4, 5 tablespoons actually for this pot. About 5 tablespoons of cornstarch. Okay, what do you say about 2 cups of liquid? Cup of liquid?
Cup, maybe.
Cup of liquid. Oh yeah, see now that's looking good. You don't have all the extra fat from all the butter and the flour when you make a roux.
Yeah, I rue the day.
Roux today. Alright, so probably shut this heat off
Take it off the heat.
and we'll let it cool down just a bit. So that is like the easiest gravy, turkey gravy, I think, ever. Throw it back into your stuffing, dressing, or you can save it and use it for a rainy day. These veggies.
You feel like being a turkey.
These veggies, it's a celery, onion, and carrot. You also can chop this up and you can throw them into your dressing, even though we have some. Put them in the freezer. Use them for when you make something else. Pot roast, chicken, whatever. Or just throw them away. There you go. And the last thing we have is the gravy. We're letting it cool, and then we are done with our basic sides for Thanksgiving. Okay, so we let our gravy cool off a little bit, and because we are toting this in a cooler, we're gonna send ours in a jalapeno jar.
Just a regular jar.
We could have put it in a mason jar, but you know, when you're making a big, huge batch for a big, huge bunch of people, a jalapeno jar that's been here sitting around works great.
You're right. That might not work too good on that one. You could probably pour it in better, huh? Let's try
You
it.
can try it. Let me hold it.
No, I got it. So anyway, so yeah, the gravy's very good too. It's super tasty.
Yeah, you're getting all the flavors. You get to control all the flavors. Especially when you're making your dressing and you do your own bread. You can control what kind of spices you want in there. Salt, whatever. And doing it with the gravy with the cornstarch. Instead of a bunch of butter and flour to make a roux.
Right. You'll rue the day.
You...
So,
yes. Yes. And it gives you not that floury taste.
Right.
You actually get just the taste basically of your turkey broth or chicken broth, whatever you're making. You can do this with any kind of gravy. It doesn't have to just be turkey. You can do this with chicken. I do this with all my gravies. I use cornstarch instead of flour and butter.
All right. We get this wiped off.
Yep. So there you have it, ladies and germs.
What up, folks?
So we're gonna just stick that right there. Put it in the cooler. Okay. So he's gonna wipe this off because he's a clean freak. Just kidding. So
Clean kitchen is a happy kitchen.
so this is what we did. We've got our dressing made. We got our mashed taters made.
Yes.
We got our green bean casserole ready to go.
Oh my god. Hold on.
Don't touch that. Just turn your...
And the gravy.
So, dressing, taters, green bean casserole, gravy, all ready to go. You freeze it, thaw it out the day before. If you put it in the fridge, this is good in the fridge for a week or two even, actually.
Yeah.
Just heat everything up. Put it in your serving dish. Add your crispy onions to your beans before you cook. Then on top, last 10 minutes. Add your broth. So, I took the rest of the broth and I put it in a container because we didn't use the whole thing for the gravy. And we're going to add that to this to moisten it up when we make it on Thanksgiving Day. So, these are just like your basics.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving stuff. Freeze them. They fit perfectly into a cooler. You don't have to add go buy extra ice and have
Right after they
lug around a big heavy cooler, whatever. So happy Thanksgiving.
Enjoy.
From Roxanne
And Brian.
and Brian. So
Happy holidays.
happy Thanksgiving and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah. Please. See ya.